Luis has finished. All the people who volunteered to give a lightning talk, you will have to come here so we can prepare quickly and arrange everything so we don't lose too much time at the end of the day. We know you're tired, you want to enjoy the evening, so let's organize this smoothly. So Luis, do you say Luis or do you prefer another name or? Luis is perfect, okay. So actually, so it's going to be a short talk on a subject that is not that easy to cover in such a framework. Um, Especially, you're going to have to prove to the crowd that it's also about botnets. And you have the floor.
Thank you, Eric. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luis. I work at Fraunhofer FKE, Germany, at the Department of Cyber Analysis and Defense. Today, I'm going to present an analysis we have done on websites that offer free movies and series. I think some of you are very familiar with this kind of websites, aren't you? Don't worry, you don't have to admit that you don't pay to watch movies and series in the internet. But let's be honest, if you want to watch your series and movies, you have to have at least two providers like Amazon Prime or Netflix. Or maybe you have a good Romanian or Chinese friend that can provide you with good stuff. But sometimes it's a little bit annoying for me to watch Game of Thrones with big Chinese subtitles and acquire Chinese advertisements. I have no idea what they are trying to sell, actually. So this is the agenda for today. I'm going to start with the motivation, why we have done this analysis, going to explain the method we have used to carry on our evaluation, going to show you the results, discuss a little bit about them, and going to close the presentation giving you some conclusions. We started our research with basically three questions. The first one is, as researcher in IT security, why we are interested in analyzing websites. Why do we need to focus on just a reduced subset of the web? And the last question is why we have decided to analyze websites that offer free movies and series. I think most of you know the answer of the first one. Websites are employed by cyber criminals to deliver malware, to get web users infected with malware. But the question that arises here is why cyber criminals use websites as infection vector? I have summarized this into two reasons. The first one, this method is efficient since cyber criminals can reach a massive number of possible victims. The second reason is this method is effective. On one hand, we have a legitimate website that can be compromised. For example, the owner of a web user is employing a vulnerable version of a content management system. On the other side, the software that is used by web users to navigate in the internet can be vulnerable. As you know, every year, vulnerabilities are found for Internet Explorer, Flash Player, Adobe Reader, Java, making web users vulnerable to attacks like try-by-download, for instance. This is an example of how web users get infected with malware. In this scenario, the web user visits a website that has been compromised with a hidden iframe, which redirects the web user to the server that is controlled by an exploit kit, for instance, which analyzes the environment of the web user. If, for example, the web user is using a vulnerable version of Flash Player, the exploit kit will send a Flash movie containing malicious code to exploit this vulnerability. Once the vulnerability has been exploited, the actual payload is dropped on the victim's machine, for instance, CryptoWall. The second question is, why do we need to focus on just a reduced subset of the web? Why we don't just analyze the whole web? I don't think I have enough resources in terms of time, computing power, storage capacity, or bandwidth to analyze 5 billion of web pages, at least. So I need to spend my detection analysis resources on targets that are more prone to be malicious than others. The last question is why we have decided to analyze free movies and series. Well, apart from these points, the main reason is one day I was hanging out with some friends and we wanted to watch the latest episode, Thrones. So we Googled it and we came across with a lot of websites that offer this kind of content. And I realized how this kind of website try to trick the users in so many ways. So at that time, I was working a little bit with exploit kits and analysis malicious websites. So I decided to carry on a systematic analysis of this category of the web. This is an example of this kind of websites. In this case, I was trying to watch Narcos. When I tried to play the video, a new window was open offering me a video converter as extension of Internet Explorer. Even when I try to close the windows, a message pops up telling me that if I don't install this video converter, my computer is not going to work properly anymore. I wanted to know how malicious was this file, so I downloaded it and I sent it to VirusTotal. And as a result, oh, sorry. That is the right one. As a result, 26 scanners classified this file as malicious. This is another example. In this case, I was offered an update for Flash Player. Again, I download the file, I send it to VirusTotal, and in this case, 13 scanners classified as malicious. This kind of malicious installers updates are not only available for Windows users, but also for Mac users, as we can see down there in the last screenshot. I came across also with another possible dangerous stuff for the web users. The first screenshot is not the Apple Store website, but the Appless Store. The last screenshot I was trying to, they were trying to convince me that I won an iPhone 7. Yes, of course I did. After being motivated with this nice stuff, we set up the goals of our research. The first one is to demonstrate that the websites that offer free movies and series are more prone to expose web users to malicious content than other categories of the web. The second goal is to propose an approach to analyze potentially malicious website categories based on real users' search terms. I will explain in a while what I mean with real user search terms. The last goal was to propose an easy to implement infrastructure to analyze website categories. In order to achieve our goals, we employ a method that is composed by 3 phases. In the first one, we selected search terms that are used by real users to search for content related to the analyzed categories. In the second phase, we use this search term to perform search queries using the Google Search Engine API. In the last phase, we extract the URLs from the website of the search results. In the last phase, we analyze the crawl URLs using the public API of VirusTotal. To select the search terms for the free movies and series category, we first ask between 2 and 5 native speakers of 5 languages, English, Spanish, German, Russian, and Romanian, how they would search for free movies and series websites using Google Search Engine. I think at this point I have to answer at least 2 questions. Why Google? Well, our intention was not to compare between search engines, but to simulate the way how web users get exposed to malicious content when searching for this kind of websites using a search engine. So we consider the best way to do that is to employ the most used search engine worldwide, which is Google. In total, we collected 25 terms from the native speakers, but we consider this number not enough to make a comparison against the other categories. So in order to increase the number of search terms for the free movies and series category, we employ Google Trends, which is a service that gives you the most used search terms according to an input that you provide. In this case, the input were the native speaker search terms. To select the categories against which the Google, the free movies and series websites were compared, we employ the Google Trends 2015 report, and we take into consideration 6 categories from this report: music, artists, global news, sporting events, laws, consumer tech, and people. In total, for these categories, we have 60 search terms. In the crawling phase, we use the search terms to perform search queries using the Google Engine API. But we only consider the first 20 search results since we wanted to crawl those URLs that are likely to be visited by web users. And according to some researchers, it's not likely that a web user will click on a search result that appears, for example, in the third page of the Google results. Thereafter, we employ Selenium, which is a tool for browser automation to extract the URLs from the websites of the search results. By using Selenium, we didn't have to deal with mechanisms used by, for example, exploit kits to detect fake environments, to detect environments that are simulated by a low interaction honeypot, for instance. Moreover, with Selenium, we're able to collect those URLs that are generated via JavaScript, which is not uncommon on website that has been compromised with malicious JavaScript that generates a iframe that points to the malicious server. To analyze the crawled URLs, we employ the public API of VirusTotal, which can be accessed via HTTP request, and the results are nicely delivered in JSON format. We employ this service basically for 3 reasons. The first one is we don't need to set up our own analysis infrastructure, which is not an easy task. The second reason is this method is efficient since we are analyzing one URL with a large number of well-known scanners. In our case, 68 scanners were employed. And the last reason is the public API can be accessed for free, which is quite good for when you are doing research and you don't have a big budget. Before I show you the results, I would like to clarify 3 points regarding the results of VirusTotal. The first one is what we call positives. Positives is just the number of scanners that classify a URL as malicious malware or phishing site. When we consider a URL positive, it's when at least one scanner classifies it as malicious malware or phishing. That means number of positives greater than 0. And how we calculated the positive rate. The positive rate is just the percent of positive URLs in relation with the number of scanned URLs. Well, these are the results for the free movies and series category. In total, we were able to analyze more than 18,000 URLs. And we have a positive rate of almost 7%. And in the case of the domains, we have a positive rate of a little bit more than 10%. Here the results ordered by language. As we can see, the Spanish terms represent the highest positive rate, and the German terms represent the lowest positive rate. We don't know exactly the reason of that. Maybe in those countries where Spanish is spoken, the law regarding watching illegal content is not so strict, so hard, so more people is accessing to this kind of websites. And that is just an assumption. We don't know the reason of that. And these are the results for the Google Trends 2015 categories. We were able to analyze more than 34,000 URLs, and we have a positive rate of only 0.51%, and in the case of the domains, a little bit more than 1%. And here the results ordered by category. In the case of the URLs, music artist represents the highest positive rate, and global news the lowest positive rate. For the domains, consumer tech represents the category with the highest positive rate, and people with the lowest positive rate. This slide, we can clearly see that the positive rate for the free movies and series category is much higher than the positive rate of the Google Trends 2015 categories. In the case of the URLs, is 14 times higher than and in the case of the domains, is by a factor of 9 higher. We wanted also to determine the geolocation of the positive domains, and we found out that 38% of the domains corresponding to the free movies and series category are hidden behind a DNS service called Cloudflare. That means if you perform DNS lookups for those domains, you are going to see only the IP of the DNS of this DNS service and not the actual IPs. However, we were able to determine the geolocation for most of the domains, and we found out that 36% of the domains are hosted in the European Union, 32% are hosted in the USA, and 9% are hosted in Russia. To conclude what we have done, we have demonstrated that the free movies and series, that website that offer free movies and series are more prone to expose web users to malicious content than other categories of the web. To demonstrate that, we employ the Google Trends 2015 categories. Our method was based on real user terms. That means that we have analyzed, we have crawled URLs that are likely to be visited by web users, a website that are risking indeed the security of the web users. We didn't just crawl a bunch of URLs in order to prove our hypothesis. We have seen that the Spanish terms represent the highest positive rate, so I recommend to those Spanish speakers that like to search for free movies and series in the internet, maybe to do that in another language. German would be safer. We have described a method that is simple to implement. We didn't have an infrastructure that requires high computational cost. As future work, we're still doing further research to determine the actual reasons why this website were classified as malicious. So far, the reliance of our results are based on the capabilities analysis of VirusTotal. For us, VirusTotal is just a black box. We don't know exactly why a URL was classified as malicious. Also, we found interesting the fact that the Spanish search terms are more malicious, for example, than the German search terms. We should further investigate the actual reasons of that. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you. We have time for 1 or 2 questions. Reaction. Someone did this already? Yeah? Yeah?
Thank you. I can comment on the last question from you.
Yeah.
As a Spanish speaker, I think that most of the Spanish-speaking countries kind of have this economical disadvantage, and sometimes we cannot afford pay for something, or there is not the culture for that, and it might be that many people relies on this type of sites.
Yeah, but why more targeted by malware?
Because if you don't have the economics for paying a legitimate service for movies, you don't have security products probably on the computer, and it's more easy that you will get infected. More like just saying.
Yes, that can be the reason why more people is visiting those websites in these countries. But the question is whether the bad guys know about that and they are focusing on this sector. Yeah, probably it's like that. Probably it's just a casualty. We don't know that.
Just a comment on your future work. I would be curious to see if the ad distribution content networks play a big part in the results you're seeing, because VirusTotal is going to scan it for what's put up there. If an ad distribution network puts up malware on there, it's going to have a higher false positive. So I would try to distinguish the two.
Yeah, me too. Interesting to to know. It's not only about a false positive, also about false negative. It can be that indeed there are more websites that are malicious in the category of free movies and website.
Hi. So I did notice when you put your VirusTotal results up that the two you showed were PUPs, probably unwanted programs. So I wonder if you did any breakdown of the actual of VirusTotal.
Sorry, I didn't.
So the two examples you showed that were detected by engines of VirusTotal had the PUP prefix, which means not good, but not say as malicious as other things like banking Trojans or anything like that. I wonder if you had any kind of breakdown of the those results and had any insight in that.
No,
Okay, thanks.
I didn't have.
But maybe that'd be an interesting way to carry on. Yeah. Yep.
We should differentiate between the examples. Also, I mean, the example that I showed, I downloaded the file. The results that I showed, that is the URL. I don't know whether VirusTotal is downloading this. Also, what is doing.
Hi. Thank you very much for your presentation. I just have a question about if you just run ad blocker in your approved browser, are you still in risk with this thing? Ad blocker, because this websites play a movie, but when you just open ad blocker, I don't think, or do you think you will be on risk?
Won't be a risk, but okay. In this example, maybe another kind of risk, but in this example, the window is not going to be opened. I have used this ad blocker. You can play the video directly. The pops up are not showing up.
So I think in the future it's good to focus on these things while playing the web browser. Will be if you play like YouTube, if you just play without with a third-party player, let's say, like this website, you analyze it, it will be under malicious website or not? This is my just suggestions for you. Thank you.
I cannot tell you that, but thank you for the suggestion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.